Hey all, and welcome to Shadow of Space, and we are commenting on another BCP video. This is called Spencer Pratt schools liberal ABC reporter pressing him on being a big MAGA guy like Trump. This is uploaded May 25th, this is being recorded May 26th, and link is in the description.
Talk about the money, because you've been open about some of your struggles financially in the past.
I never had
$15 billion.
I never had struggles. I had choices.
But managing money.
Let's be clear, my money, not taxpayer money.
But $15 billion budget that you will have to manage as elected mayor. I just want to know, for the citizens of Los Angeles, how can they trust you with that $15 billion?
I'll tell them this. Right now we have Mayor Bass. She just spent $400 million to house 1,400 people. I could hire 10 better accountants that I probably have on my phone that can make sure we take $400 million and we don't waste it on 1,400 people. So this idea that I don't have the experience, we live under their failed experience of managing the budget. Councilman Rahman is in charge of this homeless housing complex. Mayor Bass has been failing for 4 years. I'm coming in to stop this. I personally am not going to use a calculator and manage our $15 billion budget. I'm going to bring in people that manage $50 billion, $100 billion, people that know how to do this. My job is to make sure there's no more corruption, no more scamming, auditing, transparency.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Boy. So we got to talk about another clip that is a part of the masterclass that Spencer Pratt is putting on in regards to how to deal with the mainstream liberal media. Okay, this guy is giving perfect answer after perfect answer after perfect answer. He is the best thing to happen to politics in a long time, in my opinion. Okay, and in this interview, we got to talk about how Spencer Pratt handled the gotcha question, right? The gotcha question is, are you MAGA, right? They want to associate Spencer Pratt with President Trump because he's technically a Republican.
This is how Trump deranged they are, where anyone who has an R next to their name, it's just automatically assumed that you're MAGA. I don't have a MAGA hat. I don't have a MAGA shirt. I own nothing Donald Trump or Republican related that he has sold for anything.
Right? But he's not trying to make his campaign
Sorry.
partisan, right? He's simply campaigning against the individuals who happen to be Democrats running Los Angeles into the ground, right? He's campaigning against bad policies, okay? This is not a Democrat versus Republican. It's really about common sense versus lunacy, okay? And Spencer Pratt clearly is on the side of common sense. And this is why, whether you're Democrat or Republican, I'm not entirely sure why you would not support Spencer Pratt at this point if you're somebody that lives in Los Angeles. But
because he has the R next to his name, and that means that he's associated with Donald Trump, and no one wants to vote for a Nazi.
Again, unfortunately, we have individuals who vote for socialist nonsense.
Yep.
So it is what it is. Regardless, I think this campaign has been very effective at elevating Spencer's profile and also showing just how insane the Democrat Party is, especially when you talk about their governance at the state and local level. So,
well,
again, this interview,
so you can say that, but the candidate can only be as radical as the people who put them in there. They voted Karen Bass into office. More than likely, unless Spencer Pratt manages to pull it out somehow, he's probably not going to win. It's probably going to be her again.
Is going to try to get Spencer Pratt with the MAGA question. So let's get into it.
Said, I heard he's a big MAGA person in response to you. Are you a big MAGA person?
I'm a big nobody person. I'm a big Spencer Pratt, Angelino person.
And this is why I don't think he would run for president. He is doing this purely because he feels in his mind that the leadership has failed him. But it has not only failed him, but it has failed all of the people who were in that fire, who lost their homes, lost everything.
I only represent myself, my community. Angela knows I'm not part of any political party. I'm running a non-partisan race. I'm supposed to represent all of Los Angeles, not either political party. And that's the problem. Everyone has lost the plot. The mayor is supposed to be a non-partisan race. That's why there's no letters next to anyone's name. The mayor currently has hijacked the position in the chair, made it a political seat. It's not supposed to be. You're supposed to make the police, water and power, fire, streets without potholes, the lights on, no drug addicts in front of the parks, no drug addicts naked in front of kids' school. That is my party. It's angry.
See, and I actually agree with this, that it shouldn't be about party politics. You should, as a representative in like the House or the Senate, you are there to represent the people. Whether you're Democrat, whether you're Republican, whether you're black, whether you're Hispanic, whether you're white, whether you're trans, doesn't matter. You should feel represented by your government, by your elected officials. Regardless of whether the actual kind of person is there to represent you.
Angelito. So anybody can say I'm connected to whoever they want, and I'm fine with anybody saying I like Spencer Pratt. Great.
I guess if the system was working the way that it was intended, which...
Spread that message, because my message is common sense, basic human quality of life. So it should be everyone. Obama should love me. The president should love me. Biden
He compared himself to Obama last time.
should love me. Biden's wife should love, everybody should love what I do, because I want kids to feel safe, moms to feel safe. I want drug addicts to get the help they need, not this empty bed, give them needles. I don't know, it just broke the news. The DOJ, you've been sitting here, I don't think you saw it. I walked in. The DOJ just arrested one of the Mayor Bass and Councilman Rahman's needle people that we pay that drop off the needles. They were also selling drugs to these addicts.
Yeah. That's perfect.
That
Absolutely
doesn't surprise me.
I love how these guys
because they want people who are addicts who don't want to get cleaned up. The idea is if you give them a safe space that they can do their drugs and they can't go out and harm people, then them doing drugs is not the problem. So allowing them to do whatever drugs they want, in whatever amounts they want, is completely acceptable behavior. It would be worse if they died due to some sort of infection from dirty needles, which could potentially get other people sick, so I suppose it's better than the alternative. You have the dirty needles, and then you have clean drugs. I mean, potentially it's laced with something that they're going to do too much of it, and it's going to kill them. It's going to have fentanyl or something. You don't know.
Redirects the question back towards the issues and the fact that Democrats have failed, right? The current administration has...
I think he answered the question. I don't know if he's running as a Republican. Maybe he said before. He said clearly he doesn't align himself with Trump. He's not a Trump guy. He is Chris Pratt running for mayor of LA.
Failed.
That is who is who he is. He doesn't need to be anywhere else.
That is what all these reporters are trying to do, right? They're trying to make Spencer Pratt say that he likes Trump or that he's connected to Trump in some way.
He doesn't have to try to be like Mamdani. He doesn't have to try to be like AOC or Hakeem Jeffries. He can just be him.
They're trying to use that as a smear. And the reason why they're doing that is because
supposedly
they want to motivate anti-Trump.
Maybe people don't believe that nowadays, and they believe you have to be someone else who isn't you. I don't know.
Residents to get out and to vote against Spencer Pratt because, again, they hate Trump, right? So if they see Spencer Pratt as basically Trump, right, then they'll get out and vote. That's what they're trying to do. Yeah. The way that he handled this was great because he's basically saying, look, this is not supposed to be a partisan race, right? In the sense that it's not supposed to be Democrat versus Republican. you're running as an individual, which technically they are, right? They're running as individuals, and that's what it's about at this point, right? It's not about party.
It's like the justices. Their job requires no partisanship whatsoever. Their job is to read and interpret the law. Having an R next to your name does not change the words that are written down in the statute, in the law. It doesn't.
Common sense versus insanity, and ultimately, if people want to stand with common sense, then they support Spencer Pratt.
Having
right?
an R next to your name doesn't change the words of the law, nor does it change how that law should be interpreted.
If you want to support insanity and far left lunacy, then
it's why the idea that they're going to add these Supreme Court justices and somehow that's going to fix the Supreme Court is nonsense. If you could pack it full of Democrats, it shouldn't matter. If the way that a law is being interpreted isn't correct, then they're going to strike it down. How many justices do there need to be before you're satisfied that there will be enough that will just agree with whatever Democrats want, that it won't matter?
Is your choice, okay? And here is Spencer Pratt being questioned on his plan to take care of the homeless problem in LA, and I found his solution, or one of the things that he said in this, to be hilarious. So without further ado, let's get into it.
What are your plans for the over 40,000 homeless in Los Angeles?
Yeah, they're not
40,000.
homeless. They're drug addicts. Most of these people are addicted to fentanyl and meth. This isn't Spencer making it up.
Are you saying they don't have homes?
There is places for all of these people to sleep in LA.
What does that mean? These people don't have homes. If I'm really high on something really strong, strung out in the street somewhere, the last thing I'm thinking about is, boy, I really gotta get indoors. No, that's not what they're thinking about.
What anybody tells you, we have housing and shelter for everyone that's living on the street. They're choosing to be on the street because they want to do drugs. They don't want rules. They don't want to listen. They want to have animals to abuse.
For any number of reasons. They could simply just choose not to go inside. They could just choose to live this way. They don't even really have to have a reason. This is being like trans. You don't have to be arguably, you don't have to be gender dysphoric to identify as the opposite sex. You can just identify as the opposite sex. You can just choose. I don't know.
The idea that they're forced on the street right now is a lie that our city is perpetuating.
It's a lie that the left has perpetuated. And this is something that I have talked about a lot on my channel when it comes to this issue of homelessness. And some people may find my viewpoints to be, I don't know, cruel or whatever, but I just live in the real world, right? I understand how you deal with these types of people. What Spencer Pratt is saying is what I realized a long time ago, right? What everybody knows, which is that a lot of these so-called homeless people want to be homeless. They're not homeless because they don't have opportunity. They're not homeless because they can't find a job. They're not homeless because of some situation or circumstance that they have nothing to do with, right? No, a vast majority of these homeless people are homeless because they want to be homeless, right? They want to be on drugs. They want to be on the streets. They want to live in tents, okay? They want to live in filth, okay? And they get paid to do it, right? I mean, you got Democrats in the government giving them money.
Yeah, if they aren't being given money, then like he says, they're being given clean needles and hopefully clean substances to actually use that aren't laced with other more harmful illicit drugs, so that they can do them in a safe way, in a way that isn't more harmful than it would be if they didn't have these programs giving them these supplies.
Money to do it, right? And giving them drugs too. So yeah, I mean, Democrats are essentially incentivizing the problem to get worse, and then they're trying to call it compassion. Well, see, it's compassion.
Well, they incentivize the problem to happen people tell them we're tired of seeing these people in tents on the streets. So then their solution is not to actually get help to the people, but is just to get them out of the tents on the streets and into tiny homes, which is an AC unit and a bed. Wow. That's almost a home.
Drugs, right? To allow them to live on the
Four
street.
walls, I guess.
And it's
Four walls and a roof.
In a mental institution or a facility away from civilization, right? Away from everybody else. This is something that I have been a strong advocate for when it comes to dealing with the homelessness issue. The way that you deal with it is that we bring back forced labor. Okay, you cannot live on the streets. It should be illegal.
But some people can't do forced labor because it's a combination of drug addiction and mental illness. You could argue that some of that mental illness is brought on by the drug addiction, but a lot of the damage that happens as a result of the drug addiction doesn't just go away when you stop doing the drugs. Like, if you're naturally schizophrenic or you have other mental health problems, just stopping the drug isn't going to solve that. Some of these people are too mentally damaged to actually do forced labor. What do you do with those people? It's a far more complex problem than just saying make them work. And it's one where just because it is a solution. It's one where what do you do with it? There are some people who potentially could work, but because they don't have the job experience or because they don't have the hygiene, they don't have those things that would otherwise allow them to enter into the job market to seek employment. It would allow them to build up some sort of resume that says that they can get up on time, that they can show up, that they can do the work. To build that resume, to build that work experience so that they can get out of the system. The whole point, wasn't it Karen Bass that said that the whole point is not to keep them in the system? Okay, if you put someone in a tiny home, you give them the drugs and the equipment to do the drugs that they need, how is that getting them a job? How is that getting them out of the tiny homes? How is that getting them off of their dependence of the substance and the supplies that they need in order to use the substance? If it's about getting them off of those things, then how do you actually do that? And as per usual, there's a wall and then there's nothing.
To be homeless, okay? There should be a facility for these people to go to where they can get the rehab they need, the mental health services that they need.
Because ultimately, at the end of the day, some of these people will refuse those things. They will say, no, I don't want them. I want to choose to continue to be on the street and do drugs.
And they need to be forced to work, right? They need labor, right? They need some type of purpose in life. They need to be forced to work.
They do have a purpose, and that purpose is to exist and do drugs.
They don't want to work.
That is what they have convinced themselves. That is either what they have convinced themselves or what is true about them that keeps them where they are.
They want to continue to do the drugs, then they can go to jail. Period. It should be illegal to be homeless on the streets. Okay, it should be illegal. It just should not be allowed. Okay, we just should not have it. Okay, we can clean up homelessness. It's just that.
Because I guess prison would be a sort of forced sobriety. And if open air drug use is illegal, then presumably these people should just be being arrested anyways. Because there was that one guy who spoke in front of that council who talked about the tiny homes, who was the addict, who was in recovery, talking about how they'd enable it.
There are individuals who are incentivized not to do that, right? Like, for example, a lot of these liberal nonprofits who are getting paid millions in California, billions of dollars, right, to clean up homelessness, but they're not doing anything but taking our tax dollars and enriching themselves, right? Because
or trying programs that don't actually work, that don't actually address the actual problem, that put a band-aid on it, and then say, boy, look at the good job I did. Everyone praised me for what I've done for the city and my blackness, my black womanhood.
Incentive to actually fix that problem or to solve that problem, because they actually fix and solve the problem, then they don't get money. Okay, and when you understand the incentive structure behind having these woke nonprofits take tax dollars and to solve a problem that financially for them is not really worth solving,
that they don't even really want to solve. She doesn't care about homelessness. She just wants to get them out of the encampments. Yes, that's technically getting them in homes, but that isn't doing the things that are necessary to actually alleviate them to get them out of poverty. Those are two different things.
Then you understand what the real issue is, right? It's corruption.
Because then, what immediately comes to my mind is AOC saying not everyone wants to be billionaires. Some people don't want rehab. Some people don't want to work. Some people don't want to be forced to work. You just do it anyways.
Of corruption.
You always could, I guess.
Also claiming to be compassionate, while at the same time, all these people are just enriching themselves, right? They're enriching themselves with our tax dollars, and then they try to look at you like you're a bad person because you're like, no. We need to end this system, right? We need to dismantle the nonprofit homelessness industrial complex, because that's what it is, that profiteers off of this issue, right? That makes sure that there is no progress on the issue of homelessness in our society. It should not exist. We live in 2026. There's no excuse. There's literally zero excuse to be homeless in 2026 in the United States of America. There's no excuse.
Unless you choose to be homeless. Unless it's the lifestyle that you choose for yourself.
$4 billion to house these 40,000 people. There's spots for all of these people. They are choosing, because they're an addict, and you can do fentanyl and super meth on the sidewalk with no repercussions. These places are not as, they have to follow some rules. You can't torture a dog in some of these houses. You can't just attack people. You can't just be naked.
Where are you going to move?
Well, I just released a 9-minute video, so you can.
I think I saw your video.
Yeah, so it's very detailed.
But it's going to take time to build the facility and money.
No.
How fast do you think you can do it?
These people can literally. I went to Washington and I saw miles of the most insane prefabricated housing and building. I asked all the CEOs of these companies, I said, how long does this take? I met with FEMA and HUD. 3 days. 3 days. And all of this is cheaper than trying to take over, kick senior citizens out of their buildings. Is what happens. They kick them out, and then the NGOs come in and they spend 4 years. This is LA. This is LA's timetable.
Where is this facility going to be?
It's on beautiful federal land property.
Where, in LA County?
Well, when I'm mayor, I'll go meet with the federal government and I'll get the property. Right now, I'm just running, so I can't give you the exact address because I don't have the legal responsibility to go represent Los Angeles and say, can I have this land? But when I'm mayor, I promise you, because we have the Olympics coming and everybody in the government wants LA to be the #1 most beautiful city, they will work with me to give me the land I need.
So you're going to move these 40,000 people somewhere and you're going to have this facility
That's actually very strategic, because you could hide away some of those expenses in the Olympic money and
you said how long?
Use it for the building, use it for the construction.
These 40,000 people, 60% of them, City Watch just announced this week, are not from Los Angeles. They're not from California. These people have been bussed in by scam rehabs, scam NGOs, scam homeless nonprofits. These people, when I unplug them and say, we're not taking our tax money anymore, they're all going to Seattle where the mayor will welcome them. These are products to a lot.
Don't send them there.
A lot of people. So the people that want to keep doing drugs and live on the sidewalk, a lot of these people are going to leave. The other ones, there's a lot of criminals. There's people that are getting naked in front of kids. They're going to jail. The people that are torturing animals, they're going to jail. So not everyone goes in the same box. So we have the money, we have the resources, and we have the facilities.
I love that idea. I love the idea of sending these homeless addicts to other liberal cities.
It happened all during the Biden administration. People coming in by the busload every day, every week. It wouldn't exactly be a change of pace.
These people, right?
Just like old times.
These addicts. In fact, they're building tiny homes in Seattle for the addicts, right? So that they can do drugs together in some of these tiny homes. So
have their own little drug addict community.
Them to
be great.
A city that is going to be more welcoming of that type of chaos, right? But the other ones, basically what he's saying is that, look, we're going to get federal land, presumably outside of the city, right, away from civilization, and we're going to build a facility or build housing for these individuals who are homeless, right, who do actually want help, but is going to be away from everybody else, right, away from everybody else. I think that is the key, okay? Get them away. Get them off the street. I don't care where you put them. I don't care where you send them. To be honest with you, just get them off of the street. Get them out of the parks. Get them out of public spaces. Get them out of the malls. Get them out of society, right? Seriously. This should not be controversial. It's not cruel. It's not inhumane. In fact, it is humane. Okay, it is more humane than allowing them on the streets because these people.
What makes it inhumane is if the conditions are bad and the facilities are trash and it's just a generally bad place to be.
Cause problems for people who actually contribute positively towards society. Okay, you have people getting murdered. You have individuals trying to sell drugs to kids, flashing kids, doing all types of crazy stuff. Like, it is not humane what they're doing right now in Los Angeles with these people. It's time to clean it up. And like I said before, and I'll say it again, this message right here needs to be a national message. Republicans really need to take some notes from this guy and pick up this campaign of common sense, because that's what it really comes down to at this point, right? I think our politics has evolved beyond just Republican versus Democrat. It really is common sense.
It's solving the problems. You're either solving the problems or you're perpetuating the problems. You're either getting at the root as what's causing the problem, or you're dealing with it at a deeper than surface level, or you're dealing with it only at the surface level, which means that you have to constantly be redoing and reapplying the fix. Because it doesn't necessarily work. It doesn't necessarily cover the whole thing.
Versus insanity. That's what it's about. It's common sense versus insanity. It just so happens that a vast majority of the insanity comes from the Democrat Party and the far left, right? But ultimately, it is really about, again, common sense versus allowing chaos and destruction. And that's why I think that his campaign is such a breath of fresh air, because every time I hear him talk, every time he does one of these interviews, he's always sticking to the issues. You know, liberals are criticizing him, claiming, oh, he doesn't have a plan. Okay, well, for all of the plans, the experience, you know.
He does have plans. He said in this interview that he released a 9-minute video talking about his plan for homelessness or whatever, something. He has plans.
The connections, the collaboration that Karen Bass has, right?
In typical Democrat fashion, they just don't go out and actually try to find out what the plans are.
You know, we're always told that these experienced politicians are the most qualified for the job, right? But yet she gets into office, She claims that she's going to solve the homelessness problem and spend hundreds of millions of dollars to do it, and it gets worse, right? It's an absolute disaster. It's a failure. So I'm sick and tired of hearing this thing about, oh, well, he's unqualified because, he has never held office before.
She said that she would solve it on day one. Her time in office is coming to an end, and she's hardly solved it by a fifth. Like,
whatever. Look, Los Angeles, California, these blue states, they're in such bad shape that honestly, it doesn't matter, right? It's probably better to not have experience. Let's be real. It's better to have somebody who has not been indoctrinated in woke out academia, who is not sold out to the liberal nonprofit industrial complex, who actually has some common sense. I think that's a lot better than, again, the experienced Democrat politician. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
No, because it depends. If you believe that people should have the right to be able to do as much drugs as they want, whenever they want, with no barriers in place whatsoever, if you believe that's a good thing, then yes, making sure that they're in houses and making sure that they have, like, their food needs met is about all that you would need. If you want them to actually have a job, if you want them to actually produce things, it takes a little more effort than that. So if you believe that they should be allowed to just do drugs and not produce anything and not contribute, then her plan, for all intents and purposes, is working as intended. It's doing what it's supposed to. If you don't, then I lost my train of thought. I don't know. I mean, because the thing about all... See, there are a few things. The first thing is none of this matters if he doesn't get into the spot. None of this matters if he doesn't win. But it does matter because apart from the land, what would actually stop him? The land, licensing for employees, what would stop him from just pooling resources together, buying the land, setting up this facility, and just doing it anyways? What does he need the government to do? Why does he need the government why does he need to control the government to do this? It's usually my question is, why not have it be up to the communities? Why not have it actually be up to the people in the areas? Why do you make it dependent on the government? The government isn't efficient at doing things. I don't know. It's really going to depend on... You can have the best ideas and the best plans in the world, but none of that matters if you don't actually win the race to get into the spot to actually enact any of those things in the first place. So, first things first, he's got to win.